Marcus Rashford is on his last chance at United as Sir Jim Ratcliffe sets the standards, debunking the Ferdi Kadıoğlu links. McTominay update. Edison is rumoured to be a Ugarte alternative. Loads to go through that will keep you right up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the Rashford story. So, according to Gimme Sport, they're saying that Manchester United resisted any urge to put Rashford up for sale this summer, but another season of underperforming will certainly lead to his exit at the end of the season. INEOS chief Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Dave Brailsford believe Rashford is in his last chance saloon at United. And then the report also goes on to say that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is no longer prepared to carry passengers as he attempts to push United into a new era where mentality, high standards, and elite-level professionalism are the cornerstone of his mantra. So what do you think about that? That's a really interesting update. Now, firstly, I'll just say that Gimme Sport are one of those outlets that have credible journalists, not credible journalists with them. And this actually came from one of their more credible journalists. And when I read the kind of report, I was thinking, well, that's when Omar Barada came in. There's a well-documented video or report of Omar Barada when he was at City saying effectively a similar thing, that players should be performing. If they're not performing after 2 years, then they would be looked to be moved on. So that's a really interesting report. And then we've also heard stories when Ratcliffe came in around the change in mentality. We know that he's, sent emails around to the club staff criticising the standards and the cleanliness of the place around Carrington and Old Trafford as well. So I actually think that's a fairly credible report, because obviously Omar Barada is a big believer in you get two seasons, and if you don't perform within that time, then you will be looked to be moved on. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. There was another thing in the report saying that Rashford's hoping to win back his England place, and the first base for Marcus Rashford is winning Ten Hag's trust and show once again he really can be the player United know he can be. So they put a lot of kind of emphasis back on the players, which I love. I love the fact that INEOS are like, well, hold on, we're setting you up now with the right environment behind the scenes. We've got the right setup. We're improving Carrington. We've got more coaches in, more upgrading the facilities and doing all of this side where they are setting up the players so the players can have no excuses anymore. And I do think the days, or hope anyway, the days of like player power and all these leaks and all this kind of disharmony behind the scenes and stuff will now get kind of squashed and put to bed, and we create a winning culture with a winning mentality where everybody's, set up in an elite environment that's tailored to getting the best out of our players as well. That's but let me know what you think in the comments. Personally, I'm all for that. I am all for, anyone can have a bad season, right? If you take a season in isolation, you can have injuries, you can have things going on in your personal life. We're all human beings at the end of the day, right? That's why I kind of think, well, a 2-season kind of review, if you haven't performed within that time, then effectively, and you're like, we don't care. We're not carrying passengers anymore. We're not keeping players just because they're commercial assets anymore. We want to keep players that are performing, and that's the right mentality. That's what it always used to be under Fergie. You'd have a period, like if you dropped your performance levels, Fergie would have absolutely no kind of harm or no doubts in getting rid of a player if he felt that they weren't up to the standards anymore. There was a famous thing, wasn't there, with Fergie, where he always used to say he looked at players in the eyes on the first day of coming back after pre-season and could tell, which players were going to be up for it and which ones weren't. And it's kind of going back to that mentality as well, which I absolutely love. Begs the question, though, who else would be on the chopping block? Do you think then potentially if we're going to be looking at a two-year kind of cycle? Obviously, Rashford's one because he had a terrible season last season, but he's not the only player. I was thinking, Sancho. Sancho's definitely one who probably already is in that kind of situation. Anthony definitely would be on that list. If he doesn't perform this season, I would say Luke Shaw as well. If he doesn't sort out his injury problems, we're not going to be carrying Shaw anymore. Malacia. Although Malassi is a little bit different, but he's been unlucky with injuries. But if he doesn't come back and start playing games, I don't think INEOS are going to carry him. Christian Eriksen, although there's obviously rumours with him potentially going this summer anyway, but if not, he'll be on the list. Casemiro would be another one. I thought he had a terrible season last season by his standards the season before, so potentially that could be one. Although, again, those two players we're potentially looking to remove anyway. Mason Mount, maybe. Again, although I know he was a little bit unlucky with injuries last season, but again, if he doesn't perform this season, I think he would be under the same kind of category as Rashford. But let me know some others in the comments. Let me know yours, who you think would potentially be on the possible hit list. Whereas if they don't perform this season, that's 2 strikes and you're out. Going off of that report. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let's move on to McTominay. So Scott McTominay has agreed personal terms with Napoli. However, the Italian side cannot afford the €30 million requested by Manchester United unless they sell Victor Osimhen. So that's come from Italian outlet. Mixed credibility, I'm going to say, on that one. Not one that I would overly trust. I would need some more credibility before I kind of believe that story personally. But it's still, you know, talk that Scott McTominay to Napoli is hot at the moment, I would say. But the question mark is, do Napoli have the funds available to get Scott McTominay? Unless they sell Victor, if they sell Victor Osimhen, then yes, they will have the funds available, and so that potentially could be one to keep an eye on. But yeah, still looking likely that Scott McTominay could potentially be leaving this summer. And Napoli, it seems, I mean, Napoli are ahead of Fulham now in terms of the rumours and the reports. Although Fulham have actually made an official bid for him, so it's one of these where we're going to need to wait and see a little bit, but all roads are pointing towards Napoli at the moment if they can raise the funds to reach that 25 to 30 million pound mark that United want for Scott McTominay. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then there's been a lot of noise, I'm going to say, today specifically regarding Ferdi Kadıoğlu. So I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on this, right? And you can let me know whether you disagree or agree in the comments. So firstly, a lot of the stories have come from a report that was in the Manchester Evening News, right, saying that Manchester United are set to be intensifying their efforts to sign Fenerbahce left-back Ferdi Kadıoğlu before the summer window closes at the end of the month. And then it goes on to say that it came from a Turkish outlet, which claims United have arranged a private meeting with Kadıoğlu's representatives to discuss a potential move. So I actually read the report, and the report was dated on the 16th, so it's not a news story that, even though it's in the Manchester Evening News today, it's actually a report that was written and released 2 days ago. And if you remember, or if you subscribe to the channel 2 days ago, Fabrizio Romano said that Manchester United have never made an offer to Ferdi Kadıoğlu or Fenerbahce. The club working on it is Brighton. So out of the two kind of sources, the Turkish outlet that's been repeated in the Manchester Evening News today, even though it's a 2-day-old story, or Fabrizio Romano. Now, for me personally, I know Fabrizio Romano seems to do a lot of people's heads in recently. I just think that's because of the pure amount of content that he's putting out all the time. And sometimes he does regurgitate the same stories, but that's probably because he's got a lot of fans asking him what's an update on this or what's an update on that, because I can imagine having his sort of following, it would do your head in if you've got constantly. Imagine how many Man United fans are on Fabrizio Romano's Twitter page or on his YouTube comments or whatever saying, give us an update on Ugarte, give us an update on Ugarte. It would absolutely do your head in. So I think sometimes he does have to regurgitate what he said just to really appease the amount of followings that he's got. But out of the two, he is still credible. He's still one of the best journalists for football rumours and transfer stuff in the world. So in terms of believability, I'm going with Romano on that one. I don't think there's any credibility in that Ferdi Kadıoğlu story. As much as, and this is from somebody who wants Ferdi Kadıoğlu, I would take Kadıoğlu in a heartbeat. I think he would be a fantastic addition to the squad. Can play in multiple positions, and those sort of players are very rare. but I don't believe that. I don't believe the stories. I need to wait for more credibility, because the last time, I'm sure I said this on a previous video, we've got Turkish sources saying United are in for Kadıoğlu, but all the credible sources saying that we're not. And I would kind of go more with the credible sources rather than the Turkish sources. I think it's just a regurgitated story because there's not really that much news going on with United today because the Premier League's back and obviously teams are playing. A lot of the main journalists are covering press conferences and obviously matches and doing match reports and stuff. There is generally not that much news going on with United at the moment, and I think it's just a gap filler personally, but that's my opinion. That's why I share it and kind of bring you all the where it's come from, where it's sourced, rather than just saying, we're linked with Ferdi Kadıoğlu, because actually I don't necessarily agree with that story personally, but you can make your own mind up and you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's go through the Holand update. So club insiders are hoping Ruud van Nistelrooy could be the inspirational signing that would turn Rasmus Holand into a feared striker. Again, that came from Gimme Sport, from one of their more credible kind of journalists as well, which again creates quite a good talking point. Like, imagine if Van Nistelrooy can turn Hoyland into even half the player that he was. We would have an unbelievable player on our hand. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy's not just Hoyland though. I think his reputation and everything that you've read and that I've brought you on the channel, the behind the scenes kind of stuff around Ruud. Apparently he's already having a really positive impact behind the plays as well. So if he could get a little bit more from Xerxes, Hoyland, but also he's doing a lot of work with the defense as well. Obviously passing on his knowledge of him being a top striker around his movement and stuff around the box and helping them as well. Then that can only be a positive, in my opinion. Imagine, it'd be interesting to see. It's just a shame that he's injured for the start of the season, but let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then let's go through, let's talk about Edison. So again, this has come from not the most credible source. It's originally from AS, who are a Spanish outlet via Sport Witless. Again, it's been, you'd have probably seen this online a lot, but a lot of the places don't show you where the stories come from. They just say Spanish reports or Spanish outlets and stuff, but that's where it's come from. And they say, so AS say clubs have made approaches for Edison. With regards to Manchester United, it's claimed they are in constant talks with all parties involved. He's an option for the Red Devils if they fail to sign Paris Saint-Germain's Manuel Ugarte. So, according to the report, so firstly, I would say, like, do I believe that story? No, I don't think it's from the most credible outlet. It also mentions that Aston Villa are wanting to go for Edison as well. So it seems like potentially one where they're throwing United's name to either get clicks or to maybe get Aston Villa in the bidding race. He is a name that we have been heavily linked with, though, before. It's been widely reported that we've scouted and looked at Edison. But yeah, personally, I don't believe the credibility of that story. I would say take it with a pinch of salt for now until we get some more credibility. Would I take Edison, though, as an alternative if we don't get Ugarte? I mean, there's an argument to say, some people, and you can let me know what you think in the comments. Some people would probably say, well, actually, you'd prefer Edison over Ugarte anyway. The fees mentioned in the report are the same as what PSG want, though, for Ugarte, which is 60 million euros, and United don't have the funds available to go that high for the midfield target. So for me, I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt until we get a bit more credibility regarding it, as I don't trust the credibility of the sources that are leaking that story at the moment, but it definitely would be an interesting option. Let me know what you think. Would you take Edison as an alternative to Ugarte, or would you like to see United sign Edison instead of Ugarte? Let me know what you think in the comments. And then the final story I've got for you is just quickly regarding Ivan Toney. There's been a lot of talk this summer regarding Ivan Toney. He's not in the Brentford team for the game today. Thomas Frank, Brentford's manager, has said a lot of things are going on with Ivan. There is some transfer interest, so we decided not to involve him in the squad. I can't give too much away. There is interest, but a deal is not closed. Now, obviously, the reports that were linking United to him were kind of suggesting that there might be some kind of bidding war at the end of the transfer window. Obviously, we've only got less than 2 weeks now of the transfer window opened, but the reports are that Ivan Toney, that he's got a very good or very big offer on the table, like a 20 million euro a season offer from the Saudi Pro League. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on. Personally, I don't think we're going to get another striker. I don't think we've got the funds available. I don't think it's genuinely a priority position for United anymore. We've got Xerxes in. We know we can play with a false 9 with Fernandez and Mount, yes, which isn't ideal, but it can serve a purpose. We've got Rashford you can play up front as well. I think we've got alternative options for the striker department. So personally, I can't see us going in for Ivan Toney, not with the limited funds that we have available for the rest of the transfer window. But I thought I'd bring you that kind of update so that you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I do enjoy reading them. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.